Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan. I'm your host, joined by my blue collar badass, Matt. How's it going, man?
It's going great, man. It is hotter than dog shit out there today, though. And we're up here in Michigan, and it's like in the mid 90s for the rest of the week. So it's a little bizarre. Not supposed to be that hot this time of year.
Hopefully, it'll cool down by the time I show up next week.
It's supposed to.
And it's a little cool here, so it's abnormal for us. And uh, so just a little side note: I went up in the pass this last weekend, so up to 6,000 feet, and it is flooding in the top of the pass with all the snow melt. Like that's
Really?
how much snow we've gotten this year. And they just reached the top of the pass from the east side, and then they've been having trouble on like our side with the sheer amount of snow, and then all the water is melting on the bottom, so like the bottom foot is just a slush mess
Oh, it's
that they've
fun.
got to get through. But man, there are like creeks and places I've never seen a creek before. Like there's so much water that they're dealing with that you got landslides and all the trees they got to clear from all the snow that was there, and then everything rapidly melting, and all the water issues that we're having that most people in the east like never have to deal with, but the Mountain West, that's been our winter, man.
Well, there you go, man. You can run it down to San Francisco, and they can stop bitching about their water problems.
I don't we're not there, you know. They need some more education. But without further ado, guys, we have a great guest for you today, Sam Kaufman, who is leader, husband, father, entrepreneur, author, and a firm believer that we must never stop building ourselves to become beacons of light in our homes, businesses, and communities, which I agree with. Sam started out as a sole proprietor, cabinet installer in a van, grew to seven figures in under 3 years. He has operated businesses in multiple cities and is an avid core values implementer, which I'm sure we will get into. We love talking about core values around here. Um, Standard operating procedures creator. Man, I think more people need to know what SOPs are. And team builder. The cabinet installation business became a kitchen and bath remodeling business, design company, and a retail flooring store under 6 years. Sam is currently CEO of that company on the level kitchen and bath. Sam now spends most of his time leading his team of leaders, coaching and consulting for business owners, hosting the podcast Never Stop Building, Writing, and Becoming 1% Better Every Day. With that, Sam is passionate about growth and development, natural leader. He's been deeply passionate about helping other businesses owners become their best versions of themselves, uh, and sees a better future for small business in America. With that, Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am promptly going to hone that bio down a few sentences. Thank you so much for reading that with me listening. Much appreciated.
It's all good, man. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here, guys.
I guess a good place to start, Sam, is what made you get into the cabinet business of all businesses that you chose cabinets?
Yeah, combination of desperation and no education would be my answer to that. We don't even have to go down this road if you don't want to, but at 22, I got clean. I was a junkie, to be quite honest with you. That was my background, and I was a 22-year-old kid. I had no education. I had no formal training in anything, and I really was not a productive member of society. So I was just kind of going. I worked at a Honda dealership, and I sold gym equipment, I knew a guy who owned a cabinet install company, and he was paying an $8 an hour, which was an increase from what I was making other places. And I was like, I'll go do that. And man, I was so bad at it. But he was a workaholic, and I could get 75 hours of work a week, and I'd never made that much money in my entire life. And so I stuck with it, and that's how I started and why I started cabinet installing. And I was terrible at it, and I got paid a lot because I worked an unhealthy amount of hours.
Cabinetry is not the easiest of trades to jump into. How long did it take you to kind of pick it up that you weren't terrible at it? I mean, there's
So
a lot of finish work that goes into that.
there's so much. And like so I don't know how long it took. It wasn't that long. And there's a very specific reason for that. So the company shifted from paying everybody hourly to paying everybody piecework. So you're getting paid by the job. And what happened was all the leads at the company, it was like getting picked for dodgeball. All the leads at the company were picking helpers they wanted, and like your boy was not getting requested or picked. And so like what I realized was like I really only had two options here. Like I had to become an asset to this company if I was going to make, because there's no more overtime either. So like I could work the same 80 hours and make half the money now. And so like what I did was I started applying for jobs I was not qualified for, and I got no phone calls. And in the process of trying to leave this company, I said, man, I mean, while I'm here, I'll just give it everything I have. Like, and I don't know what happened, but something clicked. And all of a sudden I started being an asset, and like I liked the way that felt. And so like I started to watch YouTube videos on carpentry. Like I started to self-educate and train on the weekends and ask questions, and I became the person that they probably wished I was 6 months prior. But like, hey, so I don't, the timeline, I mean, it probably took me a year of fumbling to really start trying, but like truthfully, it was the piece rate thing that really like clicked my brain over to like, you need to learn or you're going to starve.
Money is a good motivator in that sense, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big dude. I like a lot of food. It was like I wasn't going to live on ramen. It just wasn't going to happen. So
How
Man,
long
go ahead.
how long did you work for them then before you got your own van and kind of branched out on your lonesome?
yeah, I actually, so during this like transition phase to piecework, there was two partners at the company, and the one partner exited. Like they were like they had, I don't know if it was a falling out, but like the one partner like went through a divorce and like midlife crisis and just like disappeared, and they like split up. And at this time I got my own van and a helper, and I got really really good at this really really quickly. And what was happening was like with the partner gone, the owner needed a lot of help. So like I was installing, I had a van, I had tools, I had a helper, then I had two helpers, then I was training another lead installer, and I was doing all this shit. And now I was like attending sales calls, and I was like helping this guy run this business. And like I loved this guy. Like I don't anything I say when we talk about this company, like this man was like the worst business owner I've ever known in my entire life. He definitely mistreated all of his employees, could not manage money to save his life. But like, I believe he did have a heart of gold. He just didn't have he couldn't be a businessman. There's a lot of people like that in this industry, right? Like, I believe he really is a good man. I don't question that, but awful, awful entrepreneur and business owner. And so one day I went to him and I was like, man, I'm like, so mind you, still only getting paid by the job that I am completing as an installer. I'm not getting paid by the job I'm training on. I'm not getting paid by the job I'm selling. I'm not getting paid to help run the office. I'm not getting paid to recruit people. And one day I went to him and I was like, hey, dude, is there any way that you would pay me like $1,000 a week on salary? Which to me at the time, I was like, dude, if I can get that, like I'll have made it. Like this is incredible. And he laughed and said that salary was for like a special kind of person, and that was not me at this time, and try again in a couple of years. And like, I don't know, call it arrogance or call it God, you call it whatever you want, but like when he laughed at me, like something just like unhinged in my brain, and I was like, whoa, like I've just given you like 2 years of like, what? Like, really? Like I worked for free. Like I feel like I'm the only type of person that you would like. And like and for the first time in my young adult life, I didn't believe I was wrong. And I couldn't unsnap from that, right? Because like up to this point, like, man, like drug addict, young kid, no skills. I was bad at the job for 6 straight months. Like there was a lot of me that was a lot of low self-esteem and insecurity. And like a different version of me would have been like, he's right. Like he's right. I don't. But like something happened in that moment where I was like, he's wrong. Like he's wrong and taking advantage of me. Like that, and when you like accept something like that, it's really hard to like ignore it. You know what I mean? And so like that's, yes. So how did I get it? That's when I got a van. The same time I was asked to do 8,000 other things and I was not compensated for them. So
And I think that story is unfortunately pretty fucking common in our world. It's real similar to how I started. I was working for a guy, and I could almost describe him exactly as you just did, right? The dude, he meant well. Like he was a nice guy, but he was a shit show of a businessman. He couldn't do accounting to save his life. And we went through the same thing. We'd go months without getting a check, or he'd write us checks and we'd go to the bank in the walk of shame and they'd say, yeah, sorry, bud, not this time. But it's that entrepreneurial spark, right? You spark that fire eventually, and you took the right path, obviously, and started off on your own. So, kudos to you for doing it, because not everybody has the stones to make that sort of leap once they realize they're in a shit end position.
Did you ever get the hey, could you put gas in the van on your personal card this week and I'll get back? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Hey,
we
could you
got
just,
that one a lot.
just put the Home Depot run on your credit card and we'll get you? Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah. We now, as a business owner, we've had many instances where we've been like, hey man, like I'm not running out there to swipe this. Please put it on your credit. The thing is, we've never not paid somebody back. This guy used to just notoriously be like, oh, I meant next month's paycheck.
Yeah, right.
I guess, man, I make like $11 an hour. Yeah, I'll front the van $50. That's like most of my net pay. But sure, why not? Like, yeah, I do think it's common though, and he did have a really good heart. But I do. So like one of the reasons we even like the company even started, the thing that bothered me the most was like, because I remember, so like at this time still like, though I knew he was wrong, I still dealt with some insecurity. I was still new to the trade as a whole. It really was not it's not a lot of 23-year-old kids like slinging cabinets and being good at carpentry. And so it's very uncomfortable thought even to like, I'm going to go out of my, like, who's going to take you seriously, man? Like, that's not the guy that you generally hire, the young kid with the van. But what bothered me the most about the situation was like, I watched all of my coworkers, like, just be completely and totally mistreated. And like, that's really what pushed me over the edge. Like, I was pretty good at managing money. And like, even if I didn't get paid for a few weeks, I got made up for later. Like my wife and I, we were young, we had 2 little kids, but like, we were scrappy. Like I had 3 or 4 grand in the bank making $8 an hour. Like I was just like a scrappy kid, but like I would look at our fellow coworkers. And then when I started doing like the sales side and meeting other people and like helping from an operation, I realized everybody's treating their employees like this. Like this isn't even like special to his company, like the whole industry it was just like everybody's getting fucked. Like it was so weird to me. And I made this commitment, like if I go out on my own, I'll just never be that guy. Like I'm just not gonna be that person. And it's hard. Like I understand why they treat people that way. It's hard to get paid. It's hard to price your shit right. It's hard to make a profit. Like it's hard to do this well. So like from the flip side, now it's like, oh, you mistreated me because you didn't know what the fuck you were doing.
Right.
Like you didn't underpay me while you were driving a Lambo. Like you also weren't getting paid. You also were not making your mortgage payment. You also had the lights turned off. Like it wasn't like you didn't want to help me. It's you didn't know how to help yourself. Yeah. You never took the steps to learn how to be a business owner. You were just a carpenter with too much work, right? Like, and so I just didn't want to be that.
It's the E-myth, right? The technician and the entrepreneur, and you got to really be cut from a different cloth to make it all work.
That's the book that changed my entire life.
It's a wonderful book.
It really is. Yeah, I took a trip to Hawaii with my wife because she won a competition at her job at the time. It was my first year in business. And I was sitting at like this, it was a property management convention. So a lot of like flashy, wealthy, real estate-y kind of people. And like, I was 23, overweight, new business owner, young kid, really out of place. Like, and this guy in a cowboy hat just like came and sat down next to me at dinner and was like, what's your story? And I was like, fuck it. I just started telling him my story. I'm like, I'm starting my own business. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I got 2 employees back home. I think the van broke down an hour ago, but I don't know what's happening. And I don't know, like, and he ordered me that book on Amazon and had it shipped to my house during dinner. And he said, I need you to go and read this book immediately when you get it. It was the first business book I ever read. It completely changed my life. It is right there on my bookshelf. And I still recommend it to all of my coaching clients the second they come on board with me.
I'm glad I brought it up. That's a good story, man.
Yeah, that was very, very well timed. story. Like,
Man, I keep thinking like there's so much to unpack in here, like the ability to, overcome an addiction, right? To get another one, maybe a little later, right? Towards work. Well, I mean, you traded it immediately, or sounds like, I don't know if it immediate is the right word or the right timing, but you traded one addiction for the next, right? And it probably kept you out of trouble working 80 hours a week,
for sure.
like you'd had nothing better to do. Uh then to go all in on, becoming a great installer, right? You were kind of forced into that. Then to have the, looking back, and I don't know if you see it now, but as an opportunity to run all these different segments and be involved in all the different segments of the business, so that when you did go off on your own, you knew how to sell, you knew how to,
Yeah.
operations worked, you knew how finance worked. You clearly weren't good at it yet because, like nobody is when they start, but at least you knew how they were supposed to function or what bad looked like. And then, you could do the work, you could, you were already training guys, so you already had that going for you. Um, to go into this new venture, so I mean, like at the time, I'm sure, as all of us do, like the timing is never great. The opportunity, or like what you're going through at the time, is like, this sucks, this is the worst thing, ever. I'm doing all this extra work, but it's like you started stacking skill after skill after skill with this guy in that opportunity. And I think that there's a lot of us that, looking back, don't always line that up. Like if I look back at my experience, I got in with the right guy. I got into plants and got a lot of experience very young. Which put me, when I joined a architecture and engineering firm, I could move up pretty quickly because I already had so much experience in the field that no one else had. So then I could, when I got my PE and MBA, like simultaneously, I managed a department of 9. We were doing 1.5 million square feet of educational space a year. Like, you know, I stacked all of that. And it just sounds like, from what you went through, right? You're going and you're stacking all these skills, not maybe deep in any given category, but the combination of them, right? Knowing the front office, the back office, the field work, right? Not many people can stack those simultaneously and well, to then be able to go and do their own thing, right? So you had that with a little bit of a security blanket, it sounds like, in even though you're fronting some gas for the guy, but you had that security of being in a job and learning all these things, and not just going out on your own as a great carpenter that now has to learn how to do the rest of the things, right? They don't know how to sell, they don't know how to do the books, they don't know how to fulfill orders or keep inventory, right? Like it's, hopefully Home Depot has this stuff. And so, like, recapping it just mainly for the audience and you guys, like, listen to, like, and think about what skills that you can stack in the current job that you have, right? To whether you're going to need them in the future or not, it's going to help you move down that path. And whether you want to start your own business or go off on your own, I think, a lot of the guys in the industry, and even a lot of the guys that we have on the podcast, like, they started because they were great at their craft, and your whys are obviously different than that. And I think, next we can go into core values and what, some of why that's big and what your core values are within your organization. But, I guess my point here is stacking skills, I think, often gets overlooked and is so underrated. And yeah, you weren't getting paid for it, right? But it set you up so well to move into your next phase.
I actually think not getting paid for it was a blessing, to be honest. And like, I think the only thing I would add there, like, the thing I never stopped doing was just trying to be the absolute best that I could in whatever. And I wasn't great at any of them, but whenever I was with my boss, I just wanted to be the best employee I could be. So if I was helping sell, I just wanted to learn everything. I didn't ask for a commission. I didn't even know what a commission was. Like, I didn't want a commission. I just was so interested in helping. I just wanted to be the best, most helpful, valuable asset that I could be to the company. And like, if you can hone in on that while you're where you are, I can't 5 years or 8 years or 1 year, just while you're there until the last day you're there. If you decide to leave, just being the most valuable, best version of yourself you can be, like, you will naturally acquire skills and not notice that you're acquiring them just because you want to be helpful and have integrity and just like be a good person. Right. And like, maybe I was young and naive, and like if I was older and more jaded, I probably wouldn't have done that. But like I deal with guys like that too. And I've sat down like older guys that like we've hired and been like, look, like, I know you're jaded. I understand your other experiences, but like I promise you right now, man, like if you can buckle in here, like I will take you for a ride. You will enjoy this. But like if you show up thinking everybody and me and like we're all just trying to fuck you over all the time, and like dude, if you're looking to get fucked over, you will get fucked over. Like it's inevitable, but right. And that, so the transition to core value, like that's why we have them. We have them mainly because, yes, I had all those skill nuances that I wasn't great at anything. And when you're doing $400,000 in revenue, like all those minor skills that you're not great at, or you're good enough at them to manage that company. And then you approach 900,000 in revenue, all of a sudden things start slipping and it gets a little bit more confusing. Then you're at 1.5 and you're like, what the fuck happened to my business? And who are these people? And how did that guy get that bad? And when did that guy start showing up an hour late every day? And why didn't anybody tell me? And how come that dude yelled at a homo? Like who trained him how to do this? And all of a sudden then you're two, and everything starts to kind of, if you don't have a baseline core foundation of a value system of some kind to base every other decision you make off of, man, you will lose your business out from under you. And like I walked in one day and realized that I hated the very company that I owned. I didn't like most of the staff. I didn't like the clients. I didn't like the cash flow. I didn't like the profit margins. I didn't understand what was happening. Like it just went from here to here. And we had no baseline foundation for anything. We just knew how to do really good, efficient, fast cabinet work. But I didn't know how to like build a company. And so the core, yes, like what our core values for our business spell out: crush it, is communicate proactively, radical responsibility, utilize unique abilities, solution-based thinking, help first mentality, idealistic in our work, and thankful tenacity. And so like, if you can't recite them, they ain't fucking real at all. And that's only 50% of it, because if your team can't recite them either, they're equally not real. Yeah. So like for us, like implementation there, every staff meeting starts with core value overview. Every warehouse huddle starts with core value overview. Every sales meeting starts with core value overview. Every level 10 meeting starts. I don't know if you guys are EOS traction fans, but like every level 10 meeting, we're self-implemented EOS followers with little tweaks for our business. Yeah. Core values come up at all times. When people get written up, it's because of a core value violation that is always highlighted. When people get promoted, there's a core value highlight in the promotion. It doesn't matter. Every decision has a track back to a core value highlight of some kind to make it very clear to everybody. And like that changed the entire course of my business. Implementing that just really set the stage for like a completely different. And if you don't have any and you implement them, like be fully prepared to lose 98% of your current employees. Like, because they probably don't like if you don't have them, and like they probably don't follow them. Like, and that's okay too.
So let's stay there for a minute. How difficult of a process was that? Because I've done it. I did it kind of similar to how you did. And yes, you will shed people very, very quickly. Or the flip side, you will try and force those values onto these people that don't fit. And you end up wasting so much damn time, and it's all for nothing because they end up leaving or they have to be let go. But for you personally in your kitchen and bath company, how difficult of a process was that to kind of roll it out and to really, beat it into these people that either you fit or you don't?
So I think the process of it was simple, and I think I made it way harder than it needed to be. Because like a lot of people, like I hired a lot of my friends and people who knew people, and I loved people, and I wanted to be the opposite of my boss, right? So like, and I like grew to hate firing people, and I hated writing people up, and I just wanted to help everybody. And implementing this meant accountability. And like, as the business grew, I became worse and worse at holding people accountable. Radical responsibility as a second core value was born from my inability to hold people radically responsible. So I thought to myself, man, if I build this in here as an intrinsic value, then people can call me out on it when I'm not doing, like, I need some help here. So like the core values weren't just for them. It was also like, where am I failing and what would make this business 1,000 times more successful? And that's where some of those came from. And so I think implementing them could have been a 30-day process had I allowed it to be a 30-day process, and I didn't. It was really hard for me because I had to terminate and watch people walk away who I thought would be lifers. And it was very challenging emotionally for me to look at some people I loved and be like, man, like, not only do you not align with the core values of this company, but like, you don't align with me at all. And like, if ignored this for years because I was like, always too much work for the amount of people. And like, I couldn't lose. If I lost one go, then what would I do? And like, what if we went down in top line revenue? That would be the end of the world. Like, even though it's not, because like your bottom line is the only thing that matters. Like, you do 400,000, but if you make 350, you probably did better than your local $10 million competitor. Right. And so like, I made it really hard. I didn't want to hurt people. And what I realized was your inability to hold somebody accountable is the equivalent of dishonesty, and you are hurting them. And like, when I honed in on that, it became a lot simpler to let people go and be like, hey, like, I'm doing you a favor, whether you know it today or not. I promise you I'm doing this because I love you. Like,
that's brilliant shit right there, man. And it echoes what I went through. It is very hard to do that. And, you know, as humans, most of us aren't assholes by nature, right? So the idea of firing or you know, writing up employees or people in general is just, it's difficult for the mind to get around, right? And I think it's pretty common. I know I've done it. I mean, I still do it, and it's the worst thing in the world to have to fire somebody. However, you know, there's a reason for it. And when you can explain those reasons, and it's all based on values, and the values translate to performance really at the end of the day,
yep.
You know, it at least makes it easier up here to handle that shit. Cause it's heavy, man. As a business owner, people that never have done it, they can't get it. They can't get the weight that is put on your shoulders and in your mind just by what you have to do every single day when you wake up, you know, and if you can find that roadmap to run it, that it's all the better for you.
Oh, completely agree. It definitely doesn't make it a ton easier, but it certainly simplifies the decision-making process.
For sure.
You know, I mean, even my wife, like, I love my wife is my best friend all day long, but like, even she watching me do this does not fully understand the emotional weight behind some of the decisions, right? Like, she'll be like, I don't just fire him. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm going to, but like, I still can't sleep tonight because I know I'm taking their income away from them. And I know that he's got a wife and I can't get his kid out of my fucking head. And she's like, yeah, but he like stole and crashed your van. I'm like, I know that. I still don't want to do this, like, because I still think I can help them. I still think I can save them. And like, I remember one time, man, I said to my business coach, we went through a restructuring and we changed our installation model approach. And it was like the hardest decision I ever really had to make as a CEO, because we had to let like 7 people go. We created this whole in-house installation model, and the reality of the situation was that our overhead risk was never going to be as profitable as we needed it to be to keep growing the company if we kept running labor the way we were running it. So we were moving back to a subcontractor heavy model. And so anyway, like, I had to make a decision on like humans, a lot of humans at one time. And I told you, I'm already bad at this, right? So now I have to like pick people who haven't even really done anything wrong necessarily. I was talking to my business coach and I said, man, I'm fucked up over this because I just want everybody that I love and care about to be like rich and happy and like successful. And he was like, dude, why don't you get rich and happy and successful first, lead the way, and then just like teach them how to do it from experience instead of trying to constantly sacrifice everything that you could make and do for everybody else. And like, that made a huge, and like, what I realized in like terminating people, especially for like, I'm setting the stage and leading, like, they're never or rarely going to appreciate it in the moment, but like, dude, every human that loved me enough to hold me accountable through my life, later on, I always look back like, oh shit, like, thank you. Like, damn, like, I didn't see it then, but like, you made an impact and changed my life. And I like, when I made that swap of like, I can't want more for others than I'm willing to protect in myself.
Well, guys, everybody knows that in the world of construction, things rarely go completely according to plan. In fact, they probably never do. that also seems to translate into the world of podcasting. Dylan, Sam, and myself were rocking and rolling along a really fun conversation, frankly. And then all of a sudden, boom, the power went out. We lost everything here at HQ2. The entire feed went down. So we weren't able to finish the conversation, but I do feel there's enough value in the first half an hour that we wanted to get it out here for you guys. Hopefully someday in the near future, we'll get Sam back on the mics and we'll have another conversation and see where that one takes us, hopefully all the way to the end. So with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. Please share it around. We are growing due to you sharing it, you leaving us likes and reviews. It really means a lot, guys, and it helps us to get the good message out and try and change things for the better around here. So with that, this is the end of the Construction Corner podcast for today. We'll catch you next week.